No forgiveness for Michael Vick. No hugs. No awards for people that show him forgiveness. Christians, believers. No forgiveness from white Christians for Michael Vick. Yet, Deblasio says this person has paid his debt to society, and we do not discriminate against people once that is complete. Deblasio said, it's as simple as that. What am I talking about? Oh, just this tiny little article in the New York Post named Deblasio backs NYCHA hiring of cop in Abner Louima case.
One New York City police officer has been arrested, another transferred, and 11 others pulled off active duty in a case involving charges that police officers brutally tortured a man in their custody. NBC's Pat Dawson has the story.
In a city not easily shocked, it was a stunning charge, an incident of incredible brutality.
If as alleged, this is an inhumane act by people who are criminals.
And who are also police officers. The victim, a 25-year-old Haitian immigrant, was beaten severely, then sodomized with a toilet plunger. After 5 days, he was finally able to speak publicly about a horrifying ordeal.
When those two officers take me to the bathroom, the first thing they said to me, if I yelled or making any noise, they kill me.
A 25-year-old cop has now been formally charged with sexually abusing and assaulting Louima. The incident began Saturday night when a fight erupted outside this Brooklyn nightclub. Louima apparently tried to break up the fight and ultimately got involved in a scuffle with police, then was arrested. In a crime that has dominated the city's attention, Louima says he was attacked at the precinct house, he claims by 4 cops, but says no police offered help.
When they take me to the bathroom, there was the officer around, they don't do anything. They don't even try to talk to rescue me.
The mayor, normally very protective of his police, reassigned the precinct commander and 11 other cops, then demanded answers.
I would like an explanation for why people sat around while he was suffering and in pain and were not able to figure out how to get him to the hospital. And I expect to have an explanation for it.
In the last few years, New York City has experienced a renaissance, largely as a result of the sharp drop in crime here. The city that was once a symbol of urban violence is, according to crime statistics, now the safest big city in America. While most New Yorkers applaud the drop in crime, some ask at what price.
One of the reasons it's been able to become so safe is that we have more police, and they're more aggressive in what they do.
In fact, a different statistic the city doesn't trumpet is a sharp rise in lawsuits alleging police misconduct. From 1993 to 95, an increase of over 30%. To some people, especially in minority communities, there are questions about the price of crime reduction. For Abner Louima, the question is how police could become tormentors.
Bill Deblasio on Thursday defended NYCHA's 6-figure hiring of the disgraced former NYPD cop convicted in connection with the notorious sexual assault of Abner Louima. If someone has paid their debt to society, they are supposed to go on with their lives. His told reporters when asked at an unrelated press conference about Charles Schwartz's lucrative gig as a NYCHA carpenter. This person has paid his debt to society, and we do not discriminate against people once that is complete. Deblasio said, it's as simple as that. One sentenced to 5 years in federal prison for perjury stemming from the vicious 1997 attack inside Brooklyn's 70th Precinct Station House. Schwartz now rakes in $356 per day as a carpenter with the city's housing authority. Last year, he cleared more than $114,000, including overtime, public records show. Deblasio shrugged off concerns about someone with Schwartz's record working at NYCHA, where children and women live. We do not assume that something bad is going to happen in the future, he said. It's not guilty until proven innocent. Once someone has paid their debt to society, they get an opportunity to go back to their lives. Now, once again, this man is a sexual predator. He's accused of lying about whether or not he was there when, and whether or not he held down Abner Louima while they took a plunger and forced it up the rectum of a grown-ass black man. And they're calling for forgiveness. Not only forgiveness, but a job with the city. You know, Tarika, she says all the time that the white supremacists don't get fired. They only get transferred. I guess Deblasio say, I ain't running for president no more. Fuck these niggas. Okay? What happened to all of that talk? He was so sad about what happened in the Eric Garner case. He wished he could have done more. He, broken hearted. He's bleeding. What happened to all that? Huh? So, we already see what's going to happen in the Pantaleo case. Because he's suing to get his job back. I remember when this happened. I remember being a naive child. I remember my parents having to explain words to me like sodomy. I remember for the first time really getting a view of what Black life in this country really was. Because I'm a kid. I was going to school, paying attention about grades, trying not to get teased in school. When you hear that one, people could do this to another person, and two, that the reason they did it is because he is black like you. I keep explaining to y'all the different things that left impressions on me as a child. And this here case is one of them situations. Bill de Blasio, you should be ashamed of your fucking self. This man shouldn't be allowed to be around any children. He should be labeled a sex offender. Where the fuck is Me Too? This man stood by while they raped another man. And now you're going to have this man now rolling around in black housing, because they're not going to put him in none of the housing that's not black people, because please believe, I've been to a couple of them. There's housing that has people that are not black in New York. They're not going to put him in one of them. They're not going to put him in one of them. So now he's going to be in and out of your apartment with your kids, doing woodwork, carpentry, all while getting paid $114,000 a year. And you want me to be mad about Michael Vick? You, and on the flip side, y'all black people want me to forgive these fucking racists. No, ma'am. No, sir.
And controlling the people.
You had a ship full of African men, women, and children who were at the mercy of the captain and all the sailors on that crew. And those men could have sex with anybody they wanted to. The women, the children, and the men.
You ought to see 3 months tied down with these white men. There ain't no women there for the most part. When they start bringing women, they weren't even bringing women. They were bringing girls between the ages of 6 and 15 and raping them all. But they also were raping the men. Same things was happening on the plantation to demasculinize the black men.
Control the slave population is to rape a father in front of his sons, or to take the biggest, baddest black man on the plantation and do something horrible to him to completely humiliate and emasculate him so that people won't respect him anymore. And that still happens to this day.
In the Caribbean, they had seasoning plantations, which were plantations used to break the slaves. And one plantation or one place that had a lot of seasoning plantations was Jamaica. And people have to wonder, what were they doing on these seasoning plantations that was worse than what was happening on the regular plantations? Well, one thing that they were doing on these plantations, especially in Jamaica, they were doing a process called buck breaking, where the white supremacist slave owner or the white supremacist overseer would literally rape black men in front of the whole black population in order to break his spirit, in order to break him down as a man, in order to show dominance against him, in order to show the rest of the black population that this is not your leader. I just made your leader submit to me sexually. And this happened a lot in Jamaica. This is why homosexuality is so looked down upon in Jamaican culture today.
And it was a way primarily of cutting down those who would rebel. In other words, it was a matter of power and control and domination. And they would call it buck busting, but it was really butt busting.
Slavery continued until 1865 for about 2 generations, right? So how do you reconcile that? You can no longer bring in Africans, but you still have the business of slavery. So they still needed Africans to do the work down south, especially after the cotton gin was invented. So you had the creation of breeding farms. 2 of the largest slave breeding farms in the United States were on the eastern shore of Maryland and right outside of Richmond, Virginia. They literally bred black people like cattle. They would have a strong black man have sex with a healthy black woman. That woman could be his mother, his sister, his aunt, his cousin. It didn't matter, because the end product was produce a child that I can sell, bodies that I can sell and ship down to Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. It was a business.
We had breeding farms in the United States that would put one person from one plantation against another. We even had a system where if you were a breeder, male on one plantation, and a female on another plantation, or even on the same plantation, even if you were mother and son, they would mate you. And so I tell a lot of my patients and a lot of my friends, you got to stop using the MF word, because that was a description of what actually happened when the paper bag would go over the head to put one breeder against another when they were related.
I remember years ago when white females would come to me and say, you do a lot of talking and so you probably want to become a part of the feminist movement. And I said, no, my energies are directed towards solving the problem of racism, white supremacy. And so I would never hear from them again. But the perception of the black male as threat, what they don't talk about is the threat that he has the genetic apparatus that can cause white genetic annihilation. Now, if we talk about that, then we understand why we have to kill him when we feel like it, incarcerate him forever when we feel like it, make certain that black male children don't have father guidance, that they grow up effeminized, and then we don't have to worry about that.